This is George Booth. I was a Navy supply officer for 4 years. I spent 2 years on the USS Shangri-La, CVA 38, where I was the dispersing officer, had a 25 division man crew, and we paid about 3,000 regular Navy and flyers, handled well over $1 million during that period of time. My next tour of duty was with the USS Rogers, a DDR, that's a destroyer, radar ship, and we sailed with the aircraft carrier and the fleet doing anti-submarine warfare. We spent most of our time in the Western Pacific. We were home-based in San Diego, California, and that was a 2-year experience. I had some very interesting experiences during that time. I was the only supply officer aboard, so I was in charge of everything from dispersing to the commissary where we fed the crew. One of my functions one day, which was kind of an adventure that I will always remember, I had to go over to the Shangri-La, which was sailing along with us. So the helicopter from the carrier came over, dropped a line down on the fantail of the ship, put a jacket on me and pulled me up into the helicopter and then flew me back to the plane, to the ship, where I delivered some requisitions so we could get our supplies. The seas were rough as the afternoon went by, so they were unable to fly the helicopter back to drop me off, so they used what's called a high line. At the same time, we were being fueled by a tanker. So on one side, we had the aircraft carrier, the tanker in the middle with lines giving fuel to both the destroyer and the aircraft carrier. So they ran a line from the carrier to the tanker, that's called a high line, put me in what's called a bosun chair, and transferred me across the water from one ship to the other. It was about maybe 100 feet, 150 feet distance between. And then from the tanker, they highlined me from the tanker to my destroyer. And it was rough seas. So requirements while we were at sea in the Western Pacific was to patrol the Straits of Formosa. We were on what was called the Formosa Patrol, and we went through the Straits of Formosa. On one side was mainland China, on the other side was Formosa. And the Formosans and the Chinese did not get along. We would sail between the two, and it was interesting because the Formosa people would yell across. It was close enough they could yell across at the Chinese. The Chinese would fire mortar shells across, which would clunk into the sand, and the Formosas would pick up the brass casings and use them for various things that they were building or repairing or artwork. In the meantime, we're at general quarters, which means we were in battle ready because those shells were flying over our head as we sailed between the two countries.